when I walked in right away, I said, I get so excited when people get into the world of podcasting, because first and foremost, when I started almost 3.5 years ago, consistently putting out a podcast, I didn't even know what the heck it was. If it wasn't for Gary Vee, I would have no clue what the heck a podcast is. I never imagined what it would mean to me in terms of my life. Like, not only my business, which for all the realtors out there, I don't care what profession you're in, if you're looking into wanting more in people's awareness, period, podcasting is the way to go. But it changed the course of my life.
My economic setup. It's not terribly economic. It's
actually
okay.
not.
It's not at all.
It's
actually,
really good.
This isn't one of those.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's all right. It works. It works for me.
It does. Buddy, I've done, I don't know, about 300 what we call like featured ons when we go on someone else's podcast, and this is one of the best setups. So,
all right, I appreciate it.
Really well.
In my one-man show.
And my crew knows. Yeah, for you to do it by yourself, there's no fucking way I'd be able to do this by myself. No way.
I just hit the record button and I'm like, I set it up.
Guaranteed.
Yeah. First time it took me about 2 hours, and now we're at maybe 30, 35 minutes.
That's awesome. Yeah, because okay, I'm going to put the lights here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to set it up like that. You can see everything. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really, really
keeps
awesome.
It simple, and you don't need to spend the overhead.
100%.
I feel like everyone's caught up on here's $1,000 every episode. You can't do that.
No.
By the time you hit 200 episodes.
Yeah, like where I went is different in terms of like I put out so much content now that I needed like my guys to be in-house every day, 40 hours. Like there's so much content that I'm recording, i.e. this, where like it would be too tough. Like I would be paying too much on the other end in terms of if I were to like outsource it. It wouldn't make as much sense for me. But at the start, this is a fucking no-brainer.
And you're also at a different phase, right? I think a lot of people are at that, let me build a brand, let me build my business, make some money. You're kind of at that mogul phase where you've gone through
that. I don't know about that. But yeah.
Let me do the full proper intro for our guys so they know who we're chatting with. I'm very excited, guys, to introduce our guest today. I had the pleasure to meet him on Clubhouse about 2 years ago, and I was blown away by the knowledge, by the education, by what he gives to other people, and not for charging anything. He gives all this information for free. He's an educator. He's a realtor. He's a father. He's a mogul, truly. He's the founder of From the Ground Up Media. He has over 14,000 hours of video recordings, and a lot of these videos are online. He's at 760 something videos on YouTube, 300 episodes of the Jas Takhar podcast. So guys, look him up, and you should be following Jas Takhar. Without further ado, allow me to introduce my good friend. First time we've ever met, but Jas Takhar, face to face. Many times over Clubhouse.
100%.
Welcome, Jas.
First and foremost, I appreciate you having me on, and it truly is an honor, brother, because there was a time where nobody wanted to talk to me, so it's kind of cool to be invited to people's podcasts. For your viewers and listeners, like, you gotta get this podcast of Fahad's out more, because the amount of effort he's putting in. And we were talking like for 13 seconds off air before we started recording. I've been on now, I think, a little over 300 other people's podcasts and like online and in person. And the setup and everything that you're doing, man, it's just like massive kudos to you, man, because we need more positivity. You brought up Clubhouse, and that's the only time that like we obviously didn't meet each other face to face before. But what I realized so quickly when I was speaking to you and hearing you speak, because Clubhouse, for people don't know, it's an audio only app, I knew there was an energy about you. I was like, man, I like this guy too. Like, there's something about him. Obviously I can quickly search you up on Instagram, get put a face to the name and put a face to the voice. But I knew that we were going to do some type of collaboration. Yeah, it took us 2 years to do it, but that's okay. And it's really, really cool to see your progression, and now you putting out a podcast. When I walked in right away, I said, I get so excited when people get into the world of podcasting, because first and foremost, when I started almost 3.5 years ago, consistently putting out a podcast, I didn't even know what the heck it was. If it wasn't for Gary Vee, I would have no clue what the heck a podcast is. I never imagined what it would mean to me in terms of my life. Like, not only my business, which for all the realtors out there, I don't care what profession you're in, if you're looking into wanting more in people's awareness, period, podcasting is the way to go. But it changed the course of my life, man. Like the people that I get to meet on like my podcast, the stories I get to hear from people in terms of, I heard your guest story and now I'm actually taking action. I got inspired. Even if they got motivated, we were joking about, the difference between motivation and inspiration. Even if they got a slight motivation, they got slightly motivated for a day and a half, man, we changed someone's state. And like, what other time in human beings' life could you put out content that doesn't really cost much money? Like, yeah, you could get fancy, and yeah, like even your recordings and your equipment is fancy. But I mean, like, if you had to put out a show 15, 20 years ago, it cost you millions of dollars. Like, you're going to distribute this on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube, and all these platforms, and it doesn't cost you any money. Like, it's so cool, right? And so that's my long-winded kind of answer to not a question that you even asked, but I think your viewers and listeners are going to quickly learn. I like the sound of my own voice sometimes, brother.
I think we both do. Yeah. We learned that.
Actually, you're not our Clubhouse. Yeah.
I'm not far off.
Yeah, we hated when people started cutting us off. You're like, I got so much more. I got so much more to give.
Talk for days. I think we're the perfect people to be podcasting. But I like asking the questions as well, and having the conversations, finding out more about the guests. So what really made you start the podcast? Because I feel like we have so many similarities, and you guys will see, and you don't know this yet, but I know how many parallels we have in our world. From you and I had the same first job, you and I had the same second job, you and I did the exact same things in the first 5 to 7 years of sales.
Oh wow, I never knew all that.
It's
that's so cool.
Fascinating. So as I got to learn more about you, I was like, there are way too many parallels, and we have a very similar mindset where we want to engage, inspire, educate. So that's kind of in a nutshell what our podcasts aim to do. 100%. Without asking just cold questions. We want to hear the real stories.
Guaranteed, man. Like, I think, to answer your question in terms of what got me started. So I've been in the real estate business now for coming up to 2 decades, 19 years to be exact at the time of this recording. And 5 years ago, my mentor, an older brother, I have two older blood brothers, but this guy was like my third older brother. He was also my partner in the business, and he passed away tragically. And he was essentially like the face of the brand. Like, he would be the one, because at that time he was in the business for 28, 29 years. Really well respected in the industry, knew his stuff, right? When we would go on stage and do events for our clients, any media stuff, it wasn't podcasting by any means, but at that time, if he was on CP24, any news outlet, it would be him. He passes away. Now, myself and my current business partner are looking at each other. We're looking at our business. We're obviously in a massive cloud of what the heck just happened. This guy passes away. What are we gonna do? I start learning about content from Gary Vee. I just stumble on this guy. I'm like, what the heck is this guy talking about? What the hell is a podcast? I've never heard this. So I Google it. I'm like, audio only. Oh, I really like this, because talking about what I've done in my past in terms of work, I worked for about 3 years at CIBC as a telephone kind of banking specialist, before online. Not that anybody told me you got the sexiest voice in the world, but it's not like someone said you have the worst voice, right? And I just been in sales, so I've been on a lot of phone calls. And I'm scared shitless of the camera at this time. I'm like, there's no way I can do this camera stuff. I got tons of insecurities. I have no experience doing this, But this podcast thing like is kind of cool because I can just speak into a mic. And on top of that, being of East Indian descent, I was told that it was all free. Like my mom negotiates over apples back home. You know what I mean? So I was like, what?
They negotiate over everything.
Everything. That's what I'm saying. Apples in general, right? And I'm like, this makes sense because now I can go out to the world. I can talk about whatever I want. Nobody can censor me. Nobody can just shut me off. Like I'm not going to talk about nonsense stuff where you should get shut off. But what I really liked is the fact that I can control kind of the narrative of what was going on in the real estate market. Not even the industry at large from a realtor's perspective. I had no ambitions at that time to even speak to realtors. It was nothing about realtors. It was about, oh my God, at that time I had a database of about 3,500, 4,000 people. I was like, what the hell? Like, who's going to be the person who's going to be speaking to these guys and gals? And how am I going to do it? It was the podcast. I started to put out episodes about simple stuff, man, like my story about like how I got into real estate, how my parents never really invested into real estate, but they bought their first property, yada, 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 as well as bringing on industry experts.
Which that's a great short film, by the way, guys. Look his YouTube page up, watch that first short film, and you'll actually learn a lot about Jas from
I appreciate
there.
that.
It's 9 minutes. It's great. It's well shot.
I appreciate you did the homework on that. And so as my boy just fixes my mic anyways. So what we figured out at that time is, I can sit down with other industry experts, the home inspectors, the mortgage advisors, the lawyers, and all that kind of stuff, and bring on my broker and economist and just talk about what's going on in the market. And at that time, there was very little podcasts. Side note for the real estate agents who are listening, thinking, oh my God, I'm too late. Most people don't get past their, like, I think it's the stat is 90% of podcasts don't make it past their first 10 episodes. Okay. So they might look like there's a lot of podcasts out there, but not many people make it past their first 10 episodes. And that's when I realized, all right, I'm going to continue doing this. 17, 18 episodes. I get a guy named Ryan Serhant on my podcast, fly to New York, was supposed to fly anyways. Flight got canceled, ended up taking a bus. I was just telling the story to my videographer on the way in. And that's when I put the camera on. But if anybody looks at that podcast talking about insecurities, I never look at the camera. Like, because I was so afraid of the lens, so afraid of what people were going to think of me. I have a little bit of a stutter. I sometimes my mind's moving faster than my lips. I sometimes have a lazy wandering eye. And so all these things were coming up, but my team said, bro, we just got Ryan Serhant. We have to put this on camera. After going back and forth, I said, no problem. I'll allow you guys to have the camera, but I'm not going to look at it. And that whole 37, 38-minute podcast, I never look at the camera because I was insecure. And then over time, I started to realize, holy crap, when you record things on video, you can chop it up. And that's when the whole micro content out of the macro content, I saw Gary kind of explain it. He actually was on my podcast about a year and a half later from that time. So sometime in 2019, early 2020, and sat down with his team. They showed me exactly how they take an hour podcast, get about 30 to 40 pieces of content. I was hooked ever since.
Yeah, it's the best content hack.
100%. 100%. Because you don't have to create as much content. We're already having this conversation. You know what I mean? The camera's doing kind of the heavy lifting now. You know, and so now what you're able to do is not only rip out the audio, put it on the podcast platforms, but get at least 8, 12 micro pieces in terms of videos. But then the stuff that you can do, brother, in terms of taking the audio, putting that into a software that transcribes everything you say.
Always.
You got a blog now. Now you got little captions that you can take out of the blog, let alone what ChatGPT can do for you these days. But if you're looking for more awareness, specifically the real estate industry, like professionals, mortgage brokers, starting a podcast is by far one of the best lead generation tools. The only difference from sending out a just listed or a just sold is that it's not right away. It's not direct. And nor should it be, in my opinion, because what you're building here is awareness for the long term. Hopefully you're doing it from an educational perspective, allowing the marketplace, the buyers, sellers, investors to make informed decisions. Because the truth is, if you're not doing that, especially your client base, your database, your network, your sphere of influence, whatever you want to call it, CP24, 680 News, CTV News, they're not nonprofit organizations. And so if you're not doing it, they're doing a great job putting out a lot of content. Some is positive, majority of it, in my opinion, is negative, because if it bleeds, it leads. And so if you're not doing it, your clients are watching that and they're just taking it at face value. And so they see, like,
Which is a lot of fear mongering right now amongst the media.
100%.
That's what it is.
Because that's what sells, right?
Yeah, of course.
I always use the example that if we walk by, like, I don't see any newspaper stands outside, but if on the front of the newspaper, if it said it's a massive storm coming, we all buy that newspaper. When it says it's a beautiful sunny day, people are like, great, I can tell it's a sunny day. Nobody buys that paper, right? It's the storm, it's the fear that we're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Do I need to board up the house? Whatever it is. And so as a realtor, as a mortgage broker, somebody who's, again, looking to grow their business, the best possible way to actually sell your product or service is that you first need to understand that you need someone's awareness. And in today's day and age, it's on 7 to 8 platforms on this device. And if you're not there, unfortunately, someone else is, and they're going to take market share.
And the other thing is, it's not just podcasts that last 10 episodes. I think a lot of people get on video, start selfie recording, and then they stop.
Yeah.
Or they send out a bunch of flyers that one time, that twice, 3 times, and then they stop. Or they do online lead generation. And after a month, a lot of new realtors especially will utilize any form of lead generation, paid lead generation, and then they'll say, well, I didn't get any results. It was shit. These online leads are shit. Well, no, your process is shit. That's what's actually,
or the lack of they don't even have a process.
There is no process because you've only been doing it for a month. So I truly believe in, if you're going to go down any route, whether it's geofarm, whether it's online lead generation, whether it's podcasting, you have to give it 12 to 18 months. And you're not necessarily getting the true ROI even then, but it's also focusing on the process, how quickly, speed to lead is
100%
key.
Yeah, look, when you said 12 to 18 months, I used to say that a lot, and I don't overall disagree with you. I probably would push it to 24 months.
Fair.
Now,
And you have a lot more experience within the industry, seeing what you've seen.
Yeah, I think what, a magical thing starts to happen in and around that 18-month period to 24 months, which is you just get better. You get more confident. You tend to care less about what people are thinking. And then you're willing to try different things. And then the marketplace, and when I talk about the marketplace, I generally don't speak to the marketplace at large from the perspective of just the general public. When I speak about the marketplace from a real estate perspective and a realtor's perspective, it's really the database. Because for me, and not to say that this is the only way to build a business in our industry, but I focused probably 95% of my efforts ever since I started 19 years ago to literally before I parked the car. It's all on my database. I'm just that guy that nurtures and nurtures and nurtures. But I've never done a Google AdWord, bro. In all my years. I have done some just listed, just sold stuff. I tried a little bit of geo farming and putting out, postcards and stuff like that. I did cold calling maybe for, I don't know, man, a month and a half. Not that none of that stuff works. All of it works. In fact, the only thing that actually works is if you stay consistent. Consistency is and will always be undefeated. If you just continuously do it, you'll get better, you'll get more confident. But for me, it's always been the database, because I know that if I take care of one person, there's a very high probability they're going to tell someone else. Mm-hmm. For me, that's what I use content for. I very rarely look at any of my online metrics. That might be the wrong way to go about it, but for me, what I look at is my offline metrics. And the offline metrics for me is when I pick up the phone and call my client, do they answer my call? Do they want to speak to me? Mm-hmm. Or are they thinking I'm trying to sell them something? right? Now, in the back of their mind, they might be like, okay, Jas is going to come around and try to sell something. And obviously there's an aspect of monetization that might happen, i.e. with them investing into real estate, because I work primarily with investors, but at least they're wanting to answer my call because they've seen me put out so much education. It's like, all right, man, like I kind of want to hear more from you. Right. And so for me, that is the most important, and that takes time.
But you're also leading with value.
I
You're not
think
actually
so.
asking for business. You're saying, hey, do you have any questions
Yeah.
that I could help answer versus when do you want to sell your house?
Yeah, look,
They're two different conversations.
It's huge, man, because I'll even take it further than that, brother. Like, I don't think I've ever called anybody. I just want to make sure, man, in case somebody's listening and saying, no, man, you called me 10 years ago. At least, so after my first 3 years in the business, I have never called anybody and said, do you want to buy or sell? What we do is we call people and ask them if they need a plumber. All right. So for all the real estate agents listening here, like, you're not ripping me off if I'm telling you to do it. So I want you to take this and literally call it the same thing I call it. The pie's big enough. I'm not worried about you taking business. Okay. We call and we say, hey, Alex, hey, Wei, did you need a plumber? No. Did you need an electrician? No. Did you need a painter? No. Okay. Just want to let you know. And this is what the term that everybody who's watching and listening can take. We say to our clients, we tell them that we have a real estate concierge service. It's absolutely free, Mr. and Mrs. Person in my database. There's no cost for it. And it's a real estate concierge service. Like, if you ask for a hotel, like, we might be able to help, but that's not really what we're calling for. It's anything to do with your home. You might need somebody to do, work on your cabinets. You might need a second set of eyes on a lease agreement that you're putting into place on your own for the basement apartment or for your condo. We just want you to think of us when you think of real estate. Now that I have you on the phone, I am curious, though, Mr. Person that I'm calling, where's your headspace at with what you're watching and listening to when it comes to the real estate market? Now, we've been using that line and that whole process, script, whatever you want to call it, for over a decade. And it works like a charm, not because we're trying to manipulate anyone, because our clients are like, you know what? I did actually need a plumber, bro. Rather than me checking Google, can you just set me up with somebody, right? And then that next lead-in question about where's your headspace, because majority of my guys are investors, which I think is by far the biggest white space in our industry. So if you're a realtor, new, 10 years in the business, 30 years in the business, and you're really wanting to stay in this business for a long period of time, I highly recommend, and this is coming from somebody who 80% of my transactions every single year are investment deals.
Same. 80%.
Boom.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
It's the biggest white space.
I have a few less deals than you do.
Well, no,
but
but it doesn't matter. But the number's there.
But
right?
the percentage is the exact same.
And so for somebody who's listening,
And a lot of them are repeat. They come back around.
That's the best thing.
Look, someone who's going to move into their home isn't moving to another home for at least 7 years. On average, I'm giving you the average. 7 to 8 years is kind of the average. The odd person might be 3-4 years, but that's the odd person. 7 to 8 is pretty standard. So if you did the math, and going back to your database thing, so do the math. Every 7 years, someone's going to move. So 1 in 7 people are moving this year. So you have 100 people in your database. Do the math. How many people are going to move? And of that, can you gain the business? I think it's just perspectives of starting to look at things differently.
I mean, you say used to be maybe about 10, 15 years ago, is maybe every 4 to 5 years. You're bang on with the 7, by the way. That is the kind of the time frame that everybody thinks about, either upsizing, downsizing, whatever it is. With real estate investors, they're looking into purchasing 5 to 7 times in a year.
Yeah.
I call it the best, drug crack in the world. Is that once you get once you do one investment property, you just want to do more and more. 99% of people, there's a couple of horror stories, I'm sure, that somebody bought a house in 1977 and then now they never want to invest again. But once an investor invests one time into an income property, pre-construction, multiplex, whatever it is, their only obstacle is how they're going to get more financing. That's really the only thing that my guys ever come across and come up against. And sometimes you can't. Most of the time, there's, wherever there's a will, there's a way. You do joint ventures. However, imagine you were dealing with clients that all they wanted you to do is help them find properties. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing that when we call people and call them about the real estate concierge service, ask them where their headspace is at, they'll say to us, like, hey, where's the compelling buying opportunities out there right now? And the best thing is that it doesn't really matter what's happening with the market, because when the market's like frothy or it's a strong, call it seller's market, values are going up, the media's talking about the fact that there's 120,000 sales happening and all things are positive, well, investors want to get in. When the market goes down, like a downturn that we just went through, and maybe still going through it, depending on kind of your opinion on it, the savvy investors know, well, when values come down, real estate just went on sale. Like, that's the time to buy more. I'm not here to tell people who's not a real estate agent that you should always buy. Like, I'm not that guy. You got to figure it out for yourself if you're ready or not. But the savvy investors know that's the time to buy because there's less competition out there.
And there is less competition. Prices are better. You can get deals on the buy side. The same stuff that was selling for 900,000 might be 650 right now.
Yeah.
So that's a heavy sale on there. And look, guys, real estate long-term's always gone up. So I think it's the long-term game. And I feel those people that are in it for that short-term haul and trying to make a quick 100K over 6 months and they want to assign something, those are the people that really get hurt.
Yeah,
and that's speculative. That's 100%. You're
that's
no
gambling.
longer an investor.
You're gambling.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen in 6 months, but guess what? In 5 years, that real estate, even if you bought it at the peak, I firmly believe that wasn't the peak of the market ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last year, March was not the peak. 1.3 million average price was not the peak of the market forever.
100%.
We will cross that at one point in time. I can't say if it's a year, 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, but I know over time, if you hold your properties, they're likely going to go up in value, and they always have, historically speaking.
So like back in 2007, right around 2010 is when I started to kind of get into the realm of helping clients with pre-construction condos. And we did downtown Toronto Distillery District. It's an area called River City. Beautiful area, like man-made, like it is actually Toronto's largest man-made park. It also has it's Canada's largest under-bridge park. It has like just a beautiful little area. And condos at that time, brother, were selling in that area for about $500 to $600 price per square foot. That was the first phase. And I still didn't know enough to jump in. First phase. Second phase went to about $650 price per square foot. And I just didn't have the money yet to do anything. So this time I knew it, but I didn't have the money. The third phase came in at 700, and I was like, I don't give a shit. I'm going to beg, borrow, and steal this. I'm buying a unit.
Yeah.
Then I called my friends and family and said, guys, this is the time. Like, I think we should, like, I just did it. So, I have skin in the game now. And a lot of people looked at me, they said, bro, it's $700 price per square foot. Like, this is nuts. Where do you think it's going to go? I was like, I don't know, but I know they're building more. And that tells me that if the big builders, guys who are dealing in the hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars, they know more than I do. Their research and development and, research crack team, like they're huge. They know a lot more than I do. I can promise you that. And they probably know more than us collectively because they're not moving a couple of $100,000, which in itself is a lot of money, but they're making sure that they understand where is the bigger money even moving, meaning where's the government, municipal, provincial, and federal government, where are they putting money in terms of infrastructure? The fourth phase came in at $850 price per square foot. Now I'm hooked. Now I bought one there as well. And now my clients are starting to see it. But there was still majority of people who were like, this is it. There's no way it's going past $850. It makes no sense. It's a shoebox. It's a 500 square foot condo. Who's going to live in here? Right now, at the time of this recording, April 2023, that area trades at 11 to 1200. Call it 1100 on the low end on a resale value, but brand new in downtown Toronto, you can't find anything south of $1,500 price per square foot.
15 if you're lucky.
If
And
you're
on the
lucky.
pre-construction side, it's higher.
That's what I'm saying, right? And so this will, to your point, brother, the 1.3 at the peak of February, March of 2022, it is gonna go past that. It's just a matter of when. I personally think it's always in a 10-year window, because if you look in the greater Toronto area, and I know your viewers and listeners are like right across the world and right across our country, but in the greater Toronto area, if you look in the last 100 years, so that's a massive sample size, every decade on average, just take the 10-year period, prices double.
Yes.
But see, it makes us sound like we're on some drugs, because when you look at the average price point today being 1.1, okay? Mm-hmm. And you tell somebody that home's going to be worth $2.2 million in 10 years, they're like, what the heck are you talking about? But guys, we just went through it. There's a silent killer called inflation. Mm-hmm. And so bread is not going to be $6, whatever it is now. That's going to be $10, $11 at that time. And so when you come to realize that real estate, and I don't think it's necessarily the best investment in the world, I just think it's one of the best for sure, the best vehicles. When you realize that you can leverage and take other people's money, use other people's money, i.e. the bank's money, it's just a game changer. You just can't do that with a lot of other investments.
Well, if you gave the bank $2,000 and asked them for an extra $8,000 to go buy Bitcoin, what do you think they'd say?
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Or to go buy stocks.
Exactly.
They're not going to do that. So when that property goes up 10% and you've only put down 20%, you've actually doubled your money.
100%. Exactly.
Like you've just gotten 100%.
And that's what I love pre-con. Not that that's the only type of investments we speak about, but I like that because exactly for that reason, right? Like if you put down, it's usually call it 10% every year. Yeah. You can find projects with 5% a year, but say 10% a year, it's, $60,000 on a $600,000 condo. We know that the builder, especially if they're doing another building, and if even in that one building that they're building, if they're doing if there's 250, 300 units, if you can get into that first access of pricing, they're going to increase their price by $30,000.
They always
bare
do.
minimum.
Yeah.
You just made 50% return on your money.
So when was your first investment? 2007, 8? You said?
No, my first one was 2010.
2010. That was your first one.
That was my first investment. I still own it.
So our first one was even as a family, we bought 2 units in 2018.
Okay.
That was our first one. Park Lawn Lakeshore.
Oh yeah.
Conservatory Group.
Yep.
Water's Edge.
Yep.
It's still not built.
Got it. So 18, what are we at? Wow. Okay.
18 September to be exact.
Okay.
And the prices at that time were $770 a square foot. And I looked at it at that time. It was trading at that. Downtown was at 1,000. Yorkville was at 1,200.
Yeah.
And my brother and I walked in. We were going to go halves on a condo, and then we ended up buying 2.
Love it.
That I couldn't pay for afterwards. I had to get my parents to bail me out. Let me be completely honest about this. This happened, but
the bank of mom and dad is awesome.
The bank of mom and dad is fantastic. Mom bailed me the fuck out. I was like, Ma, I need an extra $65,000, $70,000. Yeah. And so you put your 20% down, and it worked out really well. Guess what they're trading at right now? Those same places. $1,400 a square foot.
All day long.
And one of those 2 is water facing as well.
Okay.
So you can't really go wrong over a period of time.
For sure. Now, that's somewhat possibly, it could be a downside for people if they were going to live in it.
Yes.
Right? Like if they were going to be an end user, that's the term that we kind of use in our industry. But if you were actually going to be living in it, that was going to be your principal residence, that could create a problem because, man, I was expecting it to be done in, what was the expected closing date on the 2021?
2021.
I figured,
Then 22, then now it's 24.
Now, COVID obviously plays a part in that because everything kind of was shut down and then supply shortage and all that kind of stuff. However, if you're an investor, for me anyways, the reason I like those kind of delays is because I get to take advantage of that extra appreciation, but I also don't have to get a mortgage.
Yeah.
That's my
I'd
favorite.
almost rather every project I've ever bought
Get delayed.
Get delayed.
Yeah, 100%.
Even if it's 2 years, 5 years, I don't care.
Just get built.
Yeah, get built, but
That's
delayed.
important.
But that's where you have to buy with reputable builders, right? You're not going to
Conservatory
buy.
Group is huge.
Yeah. They're good. Great Golf, Mattamy. Like there's the big guys, of course. And you deal a lot in the condominium side.
Yeah.
Right?
So we probably help a little over 150 to 200 clients a year with that type of investment. But it, like for me, it's one of the best forced savings plan for the younger generation as well. You know, like you could have taken advantage of an assignment clause if you had it in place. I'm sure you did.
It's there.
it's
But
still
we
there.
won't. There's an assignment clause. But
what I
why
like-
assign one you can hold?
Exactly.
If you
But-
don't physically need the money, so my brother came to me. Let me share this.
Yes.
Brother comes to me about 2 years ago. He's like, bro, I want to sign. I need that. I'm like, why do you want to sign? He's like, I could use the cash in my business. I'm like, do you need the cash? Are you dying for the cash? He's like, no, not really. I have money. He's like, I've got access, but he's like, it would be nice to have. And this is during COVID, right? So he's like, it would be nice to have the access. I'm like, is it worth the access to lose potential A, appreciation, and B, now you're getting taxed at a 50% clip? So in understanding those things, that this is now business income and no longer capital gains. And also, I think being educated is so important because a lot of agents will not tell clients this. They'll be like, great, we'll assign it for you, no problem.
Well,
And
because they get paid again.
yeah, exactly. So let me charge my 2.5. And I try to walk people through. I'm like, is it worth it? Does it make sense? And I've convinced so many assignment clients to say, you're better off holding. You are better off holding. It makes more sense. And it's appreciated since.
Now, imagine if, you know, in your brother's situation, if it was ready to close and he did close on it, and then all he had to do is refinance it. You know, depending on your risk tolerance, and I'm not here to tell anyone that they should do something that doesn't help them sleep better at night. In fact, I'm the other guy, like the other way. Do everything to help you sleep better at night. It's just better that you're not stressed, you're not anxious, you're nicer to people, all that. And then there's that ripple effect of positivity that happens because you're in a good mood. But oh man, when you can refinance, and yes, your cost of monthly obligation for your mortgage payment goes up. I understand that. I also understand that the rental income might not even cover the expense. And I'm going to touch on that in a second. But if you can pull out 80%, sometimes you can pull up as high as like every dollar that you put in, right? It's 80% to the loan, like loan to value.
Correct.
But that could equate to your down payment.
It's normally more than that.
Normally more than
but
that.
It
Let's
may
just
be
say-
different.
Let's just say now you own a condo in South Etobicoke, Park Lawn in Lakeshore, with none of your own money. And let's just say that you had to, talking about the fact that the rental income maybe didn't cover its expenses, let's just say you had to put in $300 a month, for argument's sake. Call it even on the higher end $400 a month, depending on what you do as in terms of a day job. At $400 a month, that's $5,000 a year. You're writing that off as in terms of a loss, but just think how quick we would spend about $200. If you and I went right down the street right now, and it's a beautiful area that you have, there's tons of restaurants here. If you and I have a drink, have some appetizers, have some dinner, boom, $250 with tips and taxes is gone.
Easily.
Nobody thinks about that, right? But yet, when you're taking out of your left pocket and putting into your right pocket, that extra $500 a month, that $5,000 a year, whatever number we want to use per month, is actually paying down your mortgage.
Principal pay down.
Principal pay down. My car payment, and it's not like I have a fancy car or anything, and not that there's anything wrong with people that do, but my car payment's more than that. It's a liability. It loses me money. Where this is going to actually start to make money over time. So I think people just have that portion of it. I think they have it twisted. You need to think more long-term with real estate because you just can't day trade it. I get the $5,000, $400 a month, $5,000 a year that you're losing. But if you can,
You're not losing. You're investing
in your
it
head
back into your own pocket,
and I just
you'll
don't think most
see it
people see it,
later.
Fahad. I just don't. Most people don't see it.
So we've got one. We're losing probably around $800 a month right now, but it's well worth the $800. That's $9,600 a year. I think it's worth it. I think
still
it's
do.
beyond worth it.
Well, because you also have a day job that is not gonna look, if you don't have a job and that's what you're retiring on, obviously you're not going to be able to afford it, right? And so I think in your situation, my situation, and a lot of people's situation, they can afford it. Like, it's not that big of a deal, especially when rates come down again, which they're going to, and rents are going to continue to go up.
Yeah.
When we were talking about, we don't really see an end in terms of what's going to happen with values. And I know there's a bunch, two realtors speaking on two red couches today that where like people are like, obviously you're going to be talking about, no, like, listen, man, like
We planned this out, guys.
Yeah,
We're trying to convince you to buy.
it's black and white. Values go up, and most importantly, in the GTA, rents go up. And we saw it right now. We're finally not only back to pre-pandemic rents in the Greater Toronto area, we've exceeded
them, yeah.
right? And it only took us 2 years after the biggest lockdown, health crisis in the last century, whatever it was. Like, nobody knew what the heck we were going through, and now we
still don't know what we went through. We won't go down that
different
rabbit hole.
podcast for a different day.
We'll leave that one out.
We'll leave that one out. That one's a little crazy, but you know what? If it didn't happen, funny enough, you and I would never have met because I don't think Clubhouse would have came up.
No, or it wouldn't have taken off like it
100%,
did.
100%.
Like it did. And there's so much value on that platform.
I agree, man. I agree. I haven't been on it recently, so I don't know. Like, are you on it? Like, are you going back?
Yeah, at all.
I needed
I've been so busy with
and I'm a
life
human.
work.
I'm a human touch guy, man. Like, we were laughing. It's the first time I saw you, but I knew how you looked because I see you all the time. And when I saw you at the door, I was like, this is so much better. Like, yeah, Clubhouse was great, but I needed to see people. So the second things opened up, I could tell like my time went from 80% on Clubhouse because we had nothing else to do to like 5%. And now I haven't been on the platform for probably about a year and a half.
Yeah, we were on there every day. Every day for
4
hours.
times a day.
Hours.
Yeah.
We were running rooms, hosting
that's what I'm
stuff,
talking about.
teaching people how to do things.
I think I came up with 5 rooms. Like, I was making rooms left, right, and center because what else could you do?
Yeah.
Good times, though. Good
Had all
times.
the time in the world.
100%.
So we have so many parallels with Clubhouse. So our first job, funny enough, for those who don't know what Jas and I did, we went door to door for newspaper subscriptions. I used to get paid cash for
Me too.
people that sign up.
Yep.
And you get like, I can't remember if it was 20 and 30 or 25, 35 per subscription for a full year on the Toronto Sun and the Toronto Star.
Yeah, so when I was doing it, it was $2.50. It was $2 a month.
Okay.
It was $2 a month or something. Like, it was
$2.50 a month.
$2.50 a month or something like that. Yeah,
I was 13 when I was doing it.
I was the Toronto
would have been
Sun
2000. So it would have been
2000?
2000 that I did it.
Oh, no, man. Okay, so I'm 41. So I did that in 1992.
90. How old were you?
I was 12 years old, exactly.
Okay, I was 13.
I was 12 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 12 years old, exactly. In 1992, because I know where I moved. Yeah, it was, I jokingly say, but I don't think I'm really joking, man. There was a time, the first time I got paid from that paper route, I thought I was going to sell papers my whole life. Because I just didn't understand. I was like, holy shit, I got paid to knock on people's doors? And I had a blast doing it. As a kid, I kind of had a fear of dogs, so maybe that was the only time that I was a little concerned.
I got bit by a dog.
I never
did.
did.
That was the only time by a chihuahua. I had to kick the chihuahua. And no, I don't regret it. Fuck that
Came
chihuahua.
out of the fucking.
I have
came
no
out of the
problem
house.
with dogs. I actually really like dogs.
Yeah.
Came out. Well, chihuahuas are aggressive animals.
Yeah.
They're little shits.
Yeah,
So-
they're the little dogs.
Yeah,
right?
they're the little
okay,
ones.
okay,
So
okay, yeah.
one came out, bit me while I was knocking
shit.
for a
Yeah,
newspaper
yeah.
subscription. I had to kick it.
I'm gonna be honest with you. When I see the beware of dog sign, I never knocked on those doors. Like, I was scared.
Yeah.
I just had a fear of dogs. Like, it's not in our culture. We don't grow up with dogs. You know what I mean?
Realtors now have a fear of humans. They don't want to call. That's life right now.
But I'm so glad, and I'm sure you attest to it, man. Like, that probably, like, calling people for me was never a problem. I'm sure you're the same. Because if you go back, it was probably that job.
The biggest fear for calling people is dialing the number and hitting the green button. So that is what I found myself doing when I started. But when I get them on the phone, it's like butter. Like,
Yeah.
it's smooth,
actually my
it's
favorite
easy.
thing.
I enjoy talking to people.
Yeah.
I enjoy leading with value. I don't think I'm trying to do anything. And I always even tell clients that I meet, say, guys, I'm not here to sell you anything, I'm here to help you when it is that you're ready. I'm not here to force you to get ready today or tomorrow, but when you're ready, same way.
100%.
When you think of real estate, come to us. We'd love to help you. We'd love to transact, do whatever it is. We lead with value. We're not here to sell you a house. We're here to find the perfect match.
Yeah, I think you're at that stage too, right, bro? Like where you're sorting now. Like you're seeing who's going to be ready now. Who do you need to kind of follow up with, and who just like doesn't like your style. Like, and you're okay with that.
It's all good.
Isn't it a nice place to be?
I'm unapologetically myself, just like yourself.
100%.
You're you in your hoodie. I thought about wearing a hoodie, and I was like, 100% Jas is gonna wear a hoodie today.
Sure.
I was
Well, I
like,
got my
all right.
long sleeves coming. My long sleeves because of the weather is coming, but yeah,
But it's
man.
you, right? Like, and I
100%.
love it. T-shirt, hoodies, whatever it is, and you can't be afraid to be yourself.
Yeah. And you know what's important to that, brother? Especially for the people that are listening right now, is you're going to lose business because of it. Of certain things about you. Like I know I lose business because I throw F-bombs, I wear the hoodie, I talk about creating wealth in real estate, but I do it in a hoodie and a t-shirt. And the wreck still always comes out in me. Like in terms of just not being formally educated, like English was not my, my best grading in terms of high school. I barely passed high school. I think
I was in ESL.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I moved here when I was 10, but I was in ESL.
Got it.
And what's funny is I'm probably, like, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but
Yeah.
especially for my siblings,
Yeah.
let's just compare that. I was the only one in ESL. And at this point, I'm probably the best spoken, the best written, the best communicator.
And what
of
was
them.
it? Did you just start practicing a lot? Like, did you like? What?
I don't know.
Did
I
you
was
take it
told-
seriously. Did you enjoy it?
You know what one of my teachers told me in grade 8 before you go to high school? They ask you if you want to do academic or apply. He said, go applied because you'll fail English if you go academic. I swear. His name was Mr. Stevens. What's up, Mr. Stevens?
Was that the
If
chip
you're-
on your shoulder?
I don't know what it was, but I've always had this thing. I like proving people wrong.
Got it.
I like going out there and doing stuff that they say that I can't do. And then it was also just trying to learn and get better, right? It just happened over time. But I also think the sales experience of knocking on doors, of getting into retail, where you and I, once again, I worked for the Aldo Group for 8 years. I
Aldo, the
started
shoes.
Yeah, shoes. So you sold
I
shoes.
see where you're going with this, yeah.
Athletic shoes, right?
Yeah.
Which company were you with?
Sporting Life.
Sporting Life. So funny
Sherway
enough,
Gardens. We
yeah.
were talking about Sherway, about
Yeah.
office space and stuff. Yeah.
I worked in Sherway as well, but I Square One, Yorkdale, Bramley, but started off stocking shelves in a shoe store,
100%.
exactly the same as you.
So
And
I
was
did
just
co-op.
blown away.
I did co-op.
Okay.
So you can imagine what they do to co-op kids. Like I was the student, free labor. All they did is make me stock those shelves. But man, it's weird. Like it sounds weird going back because nobody's really taking me back to the shoes kind of sales part of my life. All I used to do is stock those shelves and just think to myself, one day they're going to ask me to come to the floor. And I'm just going to show up and I'm just going to keep coming. For me, that was the most excitement I had in that job, was the first time I got to go onto the showroom floor and actually speak to a customer. It was nerve wracking. I was 15 years old at that time, 15, 16. But man, I would never trade that experience. Like you must have loved it.
Exact same.
Yeah.
15 years old. So
Yeah.
I was stocking shelves for maybe 6-7 months. I had this manager that brought me on, and I really wanted to go on the floor. I wanted to go sell and try to sell. And I knew the back room off the top of my head. It was easy to grab shoes. So because I used to stock the shelf, not the shelves, but in the back.
And you could
all
do that
your
shit
stock
quick.
is in the back.
Yeah.
So you know where everything is.
100%.
You didn't use a ladder. You climbed on this shit to grab the shoe box.
Sometimes
up
the
top.
boxes get smashed.
And I would come in dressed up in dress pants and a button down to do stock.
Yeah.
So they would ideally put me on the floor, which never happened for a while.
Yeah.
Then my manager ended up getting, I don't know, she got transferred. I had another manager that came in, Nancy Martins. Loved this woman that I worked with. And I haven't spoken to her in a few years, but shout out to Nancy. She was like my first real manager.
Cool.
Who taught me a lot of things. And I used to come in, try to finish stock early so I could go on the floor. So I was like, you're giving me 4 hours. Let me finish my stock in 2.5. Let me get an hour on the floor. First time on the floor, top sales. And I just knew how to run.
Love it.
Get shoes as fast as I can. And I ended up spending 8 years
Oh,
of my
wow.
life with so went from stock person to sales associate to full-time sales, key holder, assistant manager, store manager of the biggest store, was going to be nominated for manager of the year I left, won Club Elite like 5 years, which is your top associates from 1,500 stores. So they take 15 part-time, 25 full-time, 25 assistant managers, and 25 managers out of 1,500 stores. So I wanted as part-time, full-time assistant manager, and I was up for a store manager. So it was just such a fascinating experience, but that is what I would probably accredit a lot of my salesmanship
For sure.
and learnings, because the foundations that you get from those places of asking questions, determining needs, meeting the needs, overcoming objections. And overcoming objections, it's the more you do, the better you get.
100%.
Right? Like, so all those things are transferable.
100%.
All of it.
It's all, look, and you'll attest to this for sure. It could be selling a chessboard, a bottle of water, mics, cameras, lights, whatever, real estate, shoes. It's kind of all the same.
Yeah, it's just a commodity that
It really
changes.
is. It's the biggest thing is, in my opinion, is how easy are you trying to make it for the person on the other side? Like, are you removing the friction in doing the business? And what I mean by that is that we've all been into retail stores picking out shoes, and the salesperson is just a dick. Like, they're having a bad day. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe their attitude just sucks. Maybe they're not wanting to be there. And there's just like so much friction in doing business with them, where I already know coming into your store, maybe aside from a couple of moments that you might have had, like a bad day or whatever, you were always smiling and you were ready to. I know it.
Biggest smile, approach every client.
That's it.
Didn't matter.
That's it.
Approach everyone on the floor.
That's it. And that's what real
Everyone.
estate is now.
Yeah.
And that's what cars was for me. Like, it's all the same. It's a matter of, are you willing to take some no's? Because it doesn't matter what you were selling. How many doors did you knock on and get no's? Like, get out of here,
But then
kid.
it wasn't the shoes. It was like the shoe care that you had to sell. That's where it became and you know what I'm talking about. It's that's the harder stuff to sell. It was the handbags that you have to sell. Like, how do you get those other KPIs in line?
So at Sporting Life, in all fairness, I didn't have to go down.
You had UPT. No?
All we had was just, well, we weren't even commission based at Sporting Life. We were not commission based there. So which definitely at that part of my life played a big role for me, because I was never, I was taught not to be pushy, because I didn't need, like, it wasn't commission based. So it was like, everyone's hired here, do your thing. But I was only in the footwear department. And so I didn't have to do any of the other stuff. Like, I can imagine Aldo now. Like, yeah, they have the handbags and they have belts and stuff there. The only thing that they ever asked us to do was to sell the shoe protection. That's it. Like, and just mention it on the way. Now, when I went into car sales, to me, that's one of the industries that have such a negative stigma, and I completely understand why. For me, it was easy because I was like, the fucking bar's so low. It's set so low. Like, who the heck likes a car salesman? And I get why they don't. I'm just not going to be an ass to them. Like, I'm not going to be pushy. I'm going to tell people to walk in. I'll say, man, whenever you're ready, I'm in the corner here. I don't want to bother you. Like, wave me down, yell out my name, throw fucking a car at me. I don't care. Get my attention. I'll be here waiting for you. Where everybody else in the industry is so pushy, right? So real estate to me is the same thing. 76,000 agents in a 75 kilometer radius. Throw a friggin' rock out here. There's an agent that we're going to hit.
My uncle's an agent. My cousin's an agent.
100%.
My this is an agent.
And they're part-time.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
I don't blame them, each to their own. But the bar's set low again. Like, people don't get back. Agents don't get back to the public. They don't answer questions. They might not tell them about the negatives of doing an assignment at the time when they're purchasing the condo, because they just want them to get past their 10-day due diligence period, right? So the bar's not set that high, man. You smile, you bring positivity to people. They'll want to do business with you and then tell their friends and family.
But I also find the landscape for a lot of these places has changed drastically. I feel like even from a retail sector, you go out, people don't even look at you, smile, and say hello. I don't end up in the mall very often, but I was there with my sister maybe a couple months ago, and we walk in and people don't even want to make eye contact. They don't approach you. They don't. Look, the luxury stores, they will, because it's a different service level. You go to Harry Rosenholt, Renfrew, you will get greeted most of the times, but a lot of times
I was
you
even
get
in
judged.
Yorkdale, and sorry to cut you off, like at Yorkdale at the Harry Rosen, and I was just looking for like a dress shirt because I had to go to a wedding.
Let me guess, nobody approached you. It's because so Yorkdale, So I used to shop at Yorkdale quite
Okay.
a bit, and I was a Rosen's customer at Square One.
Yeah.
And then at Yorkdale, when I'd go wearing flip-flops, shorts, and a t-shirt, I'd never get approached.
So I wasn't, I went like this, but I get it.
You
Keep
don't
going.
get approached. And that's the thing. They judge you. And this isn't today. This is like 8,
Oh, is it?
9
Okay.
years ago.
Okay,
even.
okay.
Even today, it's the same thing. It's based on how you're dressed in a lot of these
I'm
stores.
talking about 2 months
start-
ago I went.
They start judging.
Yeah.
And I think that's to their own detriment, because guess what? You can't tell how much fucking money someone has in their pocket by the way they look. You don't know how many investment properties Jas owns. You don't know how much. And the people that usually dress up to the nines and are wearing all the
100%.
labels,
Yeah.
they're really the ones that have the leased cars, and they're in
Their
debt
card
by-
might get
Yeah.
declined. No, all kidding aside, but yeah, I learned that in car sales the hard way, because I at the start did do that, not knowing. But then I just, like, the first time it happened where I didn't take, in car sales, it's called, like, when a customer walks in, you take an up because you got to get up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just didn't, thinking about what the car that they came in with. And I learned, and I was like, okay, never again. Like, that's just not going to happen, because you come to learn really quickly. You don't know how much friggin' money this person has. You have no idea. And then you'll be surprised. To your point, like, sometimes people used to walk in, they would buy 2 cars, like one for themselves, one for their wife, one for their kids, whatever it may be. So, I mean, that obviously, yeah, because that happened to me a couple of months ago at Yorkdale, and I was pretty shocked, man. I was pretty shocked.
Yeah, normal occurrence.
Interesting. Interesting.
Nothing against Rosen's.
No,
They've got great stuff.
nothing against Yorkdale.
Yeah, worked at Yorkdale for a number of years.
I'm more of a Sherway Gardens guy. To be
Sherway
honest.
guy?
Yeah. Because I work there.
I did. So I opened up the Saks Fifth Avenue there.
Oh, cool. But
And
that was
then
recently.
downtown. Yeah. I used to be the director of operations for Saks
Okay.
Canada. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's what I had done. So I really worked my way up in the retail sector.
100%. Well, look,
Heavily.
man, it's helping you now. It's
Yeah,
helping you
and
now.
all those things kind of transferred into this, which is the podcasting, the sales, the building a team, helping agents, and hiring agents. So yeah.
Is that something that you're looking into doing now in terms of hiring agents?
So I've just been appointed managing director of the agency.
Okay.
So for all Toronto offices,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Kick ass.
It's been kind of hush hush. We haven't really done a big post, anything about it.
Awesome.
So I'm already in charge of the entire associate base, all the hiring that we're
Okay.
doing for all the agency offices in the Toronto area. So we've got the downtown office opening. We've got ideally Yorkville opening soon. And then we're working on another one that I can't mention, which I mentioned off
Yeah.
off camera already.
Awesome.
So as those open, I'm in charge of that. And then one of those will ideally be my office.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so,
So yeah, really looking to build the team, build a brand, not just a team, but build a brokerage.
100%.
And then I, once again, want to lead with value, show people that we're not just a luxury brand, but we also want to provide value to realtors and help their business grow. I probably said no to 80% of people that I speak to.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of, are you right? Yeah. And I'll tell them, look, guys, this isn't for you. Maybe you need to go to this brand.
Yeah.
And this brand might be better because of where you're at in your career.
Yep.
And it's just not the right fit. Or if you're part-time, does it make sense?
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe too expensive for you if you're part-time.
100%.
And if you're not 100% in the business, I just don't think this is the right place.
I agree with you, man.
And it's okay.
100%. Look, I think being at and we touched on it a little earlier, like when you're at a place where you can just sort and you don't need to convince, I think it's really the epitome in our industry. Like you're at the top of your game because now you can give people that type of education and you're not convincing, you're not selling them on something. It's like,
I'm telling them to go join the other brokerage. I'm like,
exactly.
Hey, I think this brokerage might be better for you because they've got what you need right now.
But how good does that make you feel?
Yeah, great.
You know what I mean? Like you're not trying to wrong somebody, man. And
no,
I think it's
if
just gonna come
anything,
back and
great.
switch.
Sure, we'll take on every agent and we'll take your fee of X amount of dollars per month. We'll make the extra $5,000 a year. But really, what's that doing for us? Sure, we can bring on 100 agents and now we've got $500,000. But it's not worth it.
And they don't stick. So I know out of experience,
it's just not worth it.
So it's been 19 years. So in the first 7 years, we grew to about 52 agents. And man, it was all our fault. We over-promised and under-delivered. And for good reason, people left, as they should have, because we were taking on everyone. And we were just like, well, this is how to do it.
Because that's that old school brokerage mentality. But that's the only thing that existed back then.
Yeah.
It was like the Remax and nothing against Remax or Century 21, but the big box brokerages will just, you don't interview them. You're just really walking in and they're like, hey, you're just come on.
No, they're trying to wine and dine you to bring
Just
you
like,
on. That's
come
it.
on, come
Yeah,
on board.
100%.
And we're a little bit different. And I think you now with experience.
Yes.
Right?
For sure. We started to make sure this time around that we were asking more questions. And to like how you're going about it, that's how I just know you're on the right track. Because now, out of the 64, 65 agents we have, I'm going to say like 50 of them are superstars and the others are on their way. And there's a couple of people that maybe this is not going to be the right fit for them. But it really, once we started to ask the right questions, really make sure that our culture was what we wanted it to be, which has to be positive. It has to be inspiring. We have to come from the mindset of collaboration, because as I said earlier, the pie's big enough. So if you have a scarcity mindset around us, it's not gonna work well. Like, it's just not. And we're so positive that we kind of just turn people off. They're like, how could you be that positive? We're like, we have so much to be grateful for. Like, myself, my business partner. I mean, my father, taxi driver his whole life, factory worker, my mother her whole life, grade 4, grade 8 education. My business partner in the real estate company. I mean,
I met him at the bus conference. It's fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
He's an amazing soul. His parents, owned a pizza shop. Like they worked their asses off. And like, for us to have 60, we shouldn't have 65 agents. We laugh half the time because we're just fun people. Like, but we like to make sure that people who come into our wheelhouse, you got to be positive, man. Yeah. We'll let you get away with a couple of days because we all have that. But like day 4, day 5, you're getting pulled in and we're having a conversation. Let's go for a walk. Like, what's up? How can we help? Like, what's going on? Because if it's not like something big in your life that's happening, then we're probably not the right fit, because you'll bring us down. And we're very protective of the crew, definitely our leadership crew, because they've been with us through like thick and through thin kind of thing. And so for us now, it's really about culture.
Yeah. And attitude is everything. Yeah.
I'll hire attitude over skill every single day.
100%.
Because Way's skillful. He's kind of behind the cameras right now for me, but skillful guy. But even if he didn't have, for some of the skills that he doesn't have, he's learning them. How long have you been with me now, Way? Close to a year now. The guy that is in front of me now, completely different in terms of his skills because he picked up on it. But the reason he's been here with me for a year, and hopefully he'll, I would want him here for a decade or whatever it is, it's because of his attitude. That's why he's around here. He's always smiling. He wants to learn. He knows when he could do better, but he doesn't put too much pressure on himself. Some days he might, but we can easily help you get the skill. You cannot teach people a positive attitude.
No.
What can happen?
There's the non-negotiables, right?
100%.
Those things.
Like, through osmosis, they can become more positive. But if they're coming in with a fucking negative attitude and they just come in with a lot of cynicism, that's hard to change. It's very, very difficult to change.
But I also think there's agents out there that now want to join your team. Well, what have you done in the last year? And I'm not saying money-wise or GCI-wise, action-wise. And then agents will come in and bash their brokerages. And hate to say it, there's no brokerage that's bad. There is no brokerage that's bad. You have to take your business into your own hands. We're entrepreneurs. We're not fucking employees. We don't work for other people. We work for ourselves.
Yeah. Look, I mean, like I've mentioned a couple of times, it's been 19 years. But if you ask my father, I don't think he knows what company I'm with. Like, for real. He just here's really like a real data point. It's REC Canada is my team name. Mm-hmm. But that's not our brokerage. We're licensed under Royal LePage.
Royal LePage, yeah.
Okay. 95% of my clients, they have no idea that we're even with Royal LePage. Ask them, and they'll say, no, they're with REC Canada. So the brokerage name doesn't even mean much. It's you personally. Like, what is your brand? And I'm not talking necessarily like brand from like an online perspective or like what's your logo and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about what's your reputation.
That's all secondary. And I think so many people are focused on business cards, websites. You got to focus on how you're building relationships, because word of mouth database it goes back to the get-go, right? Database. Now we've got a brand where the agency is a recognized, we've got Netflix shows. So that helps. But at the same time, it will only go as far as you can take it. And if you can't share value, it's not just strong enough to help you get business. If you're not educated on the market, you can't help answer questions. It goes back to personal knowledge and what value are you providing. And now you're representing our brand. And how do we, or the REC brand.
For sure.
So how do we want that represented? Are you the right person to go in front of a client and to be honest and truthful? Because I think that's more important. Don't lie to people. Like just tell them straight. It's okay if it's not a good investment.
100%.
It's okay.
You'll actually have them for life.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of times I've told people not to invest, and I always tell the story more of like the amount of times I go into, speaking with a seller that wants to list their property, and I beg them not to list. Like I'm saying, don't sell your property. Don't sell your property. And the reason is because I've just seen so many people kick themselves and said, oh my God, I wish I'd just kept that. I did it. My parents done it. Like so many people. And that is difficult for a lot of agents. And I completely understand why, because they're like, shit, dude, I need the freaking commission, because if I get the commission, I got to pay my bills. I completely understand. But if you can get to a place where your expenses are not that much, now you don't have to make rash decisions. You can base your decisions more from a long-term perspective. You can build that relationship that we're talking about. And then that client you'll have for life.
Yeah, and they'll come back to you. They'll call you when they're ready.
If you help them create wealth, game over. Like, that's it. They love you. Majority of people even understand, okay, the values do go down, but then they come back up again. That's why, and maybe we're coming full circle, that's why I think working with investors is such a massive opportunity, because all you got to do is figure out how you can help them create some wealth. And the cool thing with real estate is most people are not looking for the short-term wealth. Most like savvy people, and I'm not talking about like you have to be super educated. Most people get it. Like, okay, I'm not going to buy a house and just do like, put some flooring and then I could sell it and make a couple of $100,000. I got to hold on to it. That to them is creating wealth long-term, and they'll remember you as the person who's done it.
100%. All right.
Hope you brought some value today.
No. We brought a lot of value.
Are you a chess player, by the way?
I do play chess. Are you?
I am. I'm not that good, but I'm trying to play more and more. I mentioned my 9-year-old and 7-year-old. So my 9-year-old he's getting pretty good. He has a passion for it. I always played it. I'm not like you might, wipe me off the board pretty quickly, but I really like the game. I like the game.
It's fun. So I used to be good when I was in middle school. Grade 6, I was the middle school chess champion. Yeah. And then I didn't play it for years and years. Then I picked it back up maybe a couple of years ago during COVID.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just picked it up on my phone.
Yeah.
And I would play it a little bit on Lee Chess and then more recently chess.com.
Yeah.
But I bought this as a Christmas gift. It's funny. I bought it for Peter Torkin, who's our managing partner. And first game, I blunder my queen on the 4th move.
Got it.
And I end up losing.
Okay.
And he's talking a lot of shit. But I knew from like just my mindset, I was like, I'm better than he is for sure.
You just made a bad mistake.
You just, yeah. And I couldn't recover from it. If you blunder your queen on the 4th move, it's hard to recover.
Yeah.
It genuinely is. So I couldn't recover from it. My fault either way, lost. And then he wouldn't give me a rematch for like a month. Then I went away. We came back. And then finally had a rematch. He lost like the next 8 times. I think it got pretty bad. He's like, "Oh, I let you win." Yeah. Once it
not
went
after
like,
8 times.
I think we're like 12-2 now. He won another one.
Got it.
A bit later, but I'm okay. I'm not the best chess player.
Yeah.
I'm probably an advanced beginner.
Yeah.
But everyone thinks that means different things. So I was at Gold Place in Markham.
Mm-hmm.
And I met this random guy. I started playing pool with him. And he's like, "Hey, do you play chess?" And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm a good beginner is what I would consider myself. And he's like, oh, I'm really good. And he wasn't good at all. And I asked him what your ELO is. And ELO in chess is your rating.
Yeah.
Like, where do you rank? And he's like 700. I'm like, 700 is like absolute beginner level. You know how the pieces move pretty much.
Yeah.
There isn't much strategy. So I'm about a 1400.
Okay.
Which is intermediate players are around 1600.
Got it.
And that's when you really know the openings. I'm not there yet.
So where's a grandmaster?
Grandmasters would be 2500 plus.
Got it. Okay.
2000 plus are like the really good, like IMs, 23.
And you're saying you're at 14.
I'm 1400.
That's pretty good, man.
No, like the gap between
so is
that
that the
and
thing?
the gap is massive.
Massive.
If
Got
I
it.
played a 1700,
Okay.
the 1700 would probably win 9 out of 10 games.
Got it.
8
Now,
out of
would you
10
think-
games.
Here's a question for you. That's 1700. Are they going to win in like 8-9 moves?
No.
Got it.
I wouldn't lose an 8-9 move.
Got it.
Even to like a grandmaster, it's highly unlikely that I'll lose. I have enough understanding of the game to not lose in 8 or 9 moves.
Got it.
It will last to that 20, 25-ish moves.
Got it.
But at the same time, if I played a grandmaster,
Yeah.
100 times out of 100, I'm losing.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
Yeah.
If I play an IM, it's,
Yeah.
There's
Well, if you told me any
this-
different, I'd be like, you're talking shit.
Yeah, the,
Like,
the skill gap is monstrous.
Got it.
Like but it's such a great game from a strategy perspective. If you want
100%.
to teach your kids that, or even problem solving, I think you get so good at thinking ahead, thinking 5-10 moves ahead.
For me, it reminds me, like in business, I'm very patient. Like I'm a patient person. I'm not in a rush to like take over the world. You know, the joke around our office when people ask us like, what are you gonna do? Like, what are we gonna do today? It's always like from the Animaniacs when the brain says to Pinky, the same thing we tried yesterday to try to take over the world. And I failed for 41 years. And I failed, but I feel like today's still, there's some hours left in the day. I still have some time to do it. Very patient. This reminds me to be patient because I'm generally in a rush to finish a game. And you can't be with chess. Like you gotta sit there, right? And so that's what I like about the game. But I'm learning, man. I want to get better because again, you gotta strategize. It's not checkers.
Yes.
It's not checkers.
No, not
you
at
know
all.
What I mean?
And the other thing is, instead of the guys that are playing chess, instead of playing 5-minute games, go play 10, 15, 25-minute games.
Right.
So that way, it's easier to go shorter on time.
Yeah.
Once you understand it, than to go longer on time.
Yes.
I struggle in a 5-minute game with like people that are rated around 1,000 sometimes.
So when you play a 5-minute game, how much?
It's 5 minutes each.
Each
Got it,
5
minutes.
Okay.
So
okay.
5 minutes, like if I start thinking about strategy,
Yes.
I'm probably around an 1,100 in a 5-minute game
Got it,
versus
got
a
it, got it.
1,400 in a 10 or 15 minute game.
Right,
So when you
right.
start playing different timelines, but you also get a different understanding of the game.
Sure, for sure.
And then you have to just know what to move, so you're not really thinking as much about each move. I prefer no time, and you just sit there, you enjoy it, and that's where you learn.
Yes,
really,
for sure.
And then go chess.com. You can go back and you can actually look at each move where you made the blend.
Oh, cool.
So what was the best move to make?
Interesting.
So it's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I haven't downloaded the app. Like I have a board at home as well. Like I said, I play with my kid. My
Your
older
kids
brother,
would enjoy it.
Oh, my
Get
9-year-old's
them-
really.
Yeah, even if you get them one subscription that they can just play on
And
and
just-
they learn, it's such a good value add, and they'll play other people their level
100%.
and then they'll get better over time.
better than some of the YouTube videos. Sometimes they sneak in.
Yeah, some of those YouTube videos. You've got 700 of them. You're about 760 more than I have. I'm at 5. This is episode number 6.
My kids have seen, I don't know, maybe about 20, 25 videos of mine, and now they're bored of them. They're like, Dad, that's good enough. I'm good. Like, you're not Steph Curry. That's my night.
Are you a big ball fan?
I'm a huge ball fan.
All right, let's talk basketball for a quick second before we
me.
leave.
Talk to me. This year?
Let's go this year and then let's go way back.
So this year for me, I actually, like, I'm a massive, which will probably take us way back as well. I'm a massive Laker guy.
Okay.
All time, not to think, like, I don't think he's the GOAT. I know, I really, believe who the GOAT is, and I know who the GOAT is, but my favorite player has always been Kobe. Like,
Okay.
I was a Kobe fan even when, once he came out of high school when he had the bad rap. Like I was like, I still like this kid. There's something about him, yada, yada, yada. So always a Laker fan. So this year, I actually think they have a really good chance to come
I
out of the
completely
West.
agree. Did you watch the game last night?
I actually just caught the highlights.
I stayed
just
up
caught
to
the-
watch that fourth quarter.
I saw
and
the Leafs
overtime.
game. I saw the Leafs game, and then I was just exhausted, and so I watched a little bit of the game, but not. I didn't get into the overtime. First thing I woke up in the morning today, went straight to YouTube, got my highlights. I saw them.
Yeah.
I actually think they have a very good chance of coming out. Obviously, I think Phoenix is going to be the team that they go up against, because I think they're going to finish off the Clippers very soon.
Yeah,
They play tonight, I think.
well, they're up 3-1 already.
They're up
so
3-1,
I think,
yeah,
I think that series
done.
is,
That one's
especially if Kawhi is not playing enough.
100%, which is unfortunate because I really like Kawhi when you.
Because I think if
really
Kawhi
like
and Paul George are healthy, they can win.
yeah,
They
I just
can
don't
win
think
the
they can
entire
come back
thing.
from the 3-1 though.
No, I don't
Yeah,
think so.
yeah.
Not against KD, Booker.
No, exactly, right? And so I think this year's going to be out of the West. I'm hoping, and I actually think because the way that LeBron's playing, he's playing such a facilitator role, and AD, knock on wood, he doesn't get hurt. There's nobody that can really defend him.
Yeah.
Like their best chance was with the defensive player of the year on Memphis anyways, and he's having trouble, right?
Yeah.
So who's really going to defend him? I can't see that happening. The East to me is funny. I don't know who's going to come out of the East. There's a good chance, obviously, that it's going to be Philly, but for some reason, I just think Boston's going to do it again. I think
It's
they're
either
gonna come out
Philly or
this-
Boston.
I think Boston's just going to.
And
I don't know. Maybe Embiid.
you think
this is his year?
You think the Bucks are done?
What happened last night with the Bucks? They
They
lost.
lost.
So they're
Fucking
3-1.
Jimmy Butler dropped
So
56 points.
Exactly.
He lit him up.
24. I was getting my hair cut, actually.
Insane.
I was watching 24
I
in
watched
the
the
first
highlights
quarter.
of that one. I was like, what the?
I was watching that game 24 in the first quarter or something like that he had.
I love Jimmy B.
I think the Bucks
He's
are
torched
done.
us so many
Oh my
times.
God.
He used to, when he was on Chicago, he used to fuck us
100%.
up. And
All
every
the
time.
And even when he went to Miami,
Yeah.
I'm happy for Kyle too. Let him get somewhere. Get far. But I think Boston's gonna still come out of there. And then if it's Boston and LA, I don't think Boston's gonna win.
So I've historically.
So who do you got?
I've historically hated Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
But there's a reason for that. I was always a Boston fan.
Ooh.
I was a KG, Rondo,
Wow.
Ray Allen fan. So Boston hat, jersey. I was like, those finals.
So for
like
all the
every
similarities,
game.
I did not think
but
Boston
I
was
respected.
gonna
Like
come out of your
I
mouth.
love Kobe.
Okay.
Love Kobe. I went to his last game in Toronto, his final season. It was like mad respect for him, and rest in peace, Kobe Bryant.
100%,
Such a
100%.
phenomenal competitor.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It put me, in all honesty, it shut me up for a whole day. Like I'm not a big outside tier kind of guy for whatever reason. I'm just not in. I was torn inside that whole day. That I think I said maybe 4 words.
Every time I
couldn't speak.
saw a photo or a video of
Yeah.
him and
the
his
daughter.
daughter, I have a daughter.
I know.
and I was just
I can't even.
yeah.
imagine, bro.
I had
Can't even
tears.
imagine. Can't even
tears.
imagine.
Yeah.
Can't even imagine.
But
he was. I just loved his work ethic. I like how he broke it down. Like he really, he would take 1,000 shots, which in itself is crazy, but it was the 1,000 same shot.
yes,
That's what, like, we've all heard people really putting in the extra hours and stuff. And I still think him and maybe Jordan, who I really think is the GOAT, by the way.
okay.
That's the guy who I
How
think
far off is he from? Is LeBron from him?
It's funny, man. I was thinking about it in the shower today, bro. If LeBron wins this year, I don't know what happens.
I think everyone's got to shut the fuck up.
I
think
so.
that's what
And just
needs
so
to
you know,
happen.
growing up, I was never a Jordan fan.
Okay,
Ever.
fair.
I just wasn't. Back then, for some weird reason, I was a Dominique Wilkins fan.
I was young, so we moved to Canada when I was in '97. So this is at the end of his reign.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right?
Yeah, the final year.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
final year.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we did watch that,
Got
and
it.
we were getting into basketball. We weren't really basketball from
So are
Pakistan.
you saying right now LeBron is the GOAT?
I think LeBron, I think there's a really good argument he's the GOAT now.
Yeah.
I think there is a good argument. I think the old heads are stuck on Jordan and the 6-0, but I don't understand why LeBron gets flack for getting to the finals. It feels like him getting to the finals is more of an issue on his legacy or a stain on his legacy than Jordan losing in the first round.
So 90
and he's won with different coaches.
Yep.
Different teams.
I'll give you all that.
He's taken
Yeah.
different teams to the final. He took fucking Sasha Pavlovich to the finals.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Igolskis. Like, just understand, he went to the
Verzov
finals.
and all those guys.
10 years.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
Like, in understanding that, and then the historical aspect of points, the whole nine, he's clutch. And people still say he's not clutch. He's
You
clutch.
know what I think it is? One game, game 7, who you taking? Game 7, finals, one game.
LeBron.
See, where I would go.
But LeBron historically in game 7s is like fucking 40-point triple doubles.
I know, but the thing is, for me, in that situation, he doesn't
one
have
shot.
that instinct.
Okay, if you're asking
I'm
me
not talking
one
about shot. No, the whole game.
Then
The whole
I
game.
take Jordan.
See, the thing with Jordan, yes. So
One
you're
shot,
saying
I'll
one
take
shot.
Jordan.
Got it.
Well, Jordan is more clutch than LeBron.
No, but I'm saying just
That part
one
I'll
game.
take to an extent.
One game.
One game?
Game 7.
In their primes,
Yeah.
here's what I'll say. I think if you get down to the final couple possessions and it's super close, Jordan kind of edges out LeBron there.
Yeah.
But throughout the game, the way LeBron can dominate the
100%.
floor and help his teammates
Yeah.
is greater than what Jordan could do. Jordan could score with the best of them, better than the best of them.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Jordan, I think mid-range, the scoring, the tenacity, the will, the 63-point games against Boston, the flu game,
All of it.
Whatever it was, Jordan could do.
Yeah.
I think they're very close. I think they're head to head. I think if LeBron wins this year, I don't think there's even an
Yeah,
argument
to win in your 19th, 20th year or
20th
whatever,
year,
20th year.
or to average 26 points, 27 points in your 20th year. Nobody's ever done that.
No, that's going to be very, very
So I think
difficult.
longevity, and it also depends how people look at the NBA as a whole and what they value more. Do you value the 6-0 more? Or do you value the 10 finals and 4 championships? Do you value winning with different coaches, different teammates?
I agree.
I think
agree.
there's so many. I think there's arguments to both.
100%.
For sure.
Yeah, you know what I think? In all honesty, and I'm not just saying it, like I said, man, first and foremost, I was never a Jordan fan. I just it's me and Tom Brady, for example. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. Like
Brady's the GOAT, though.
I would be an idiot to say that he's not the GOAT. Fucking hated his game. Like,
Of course.
I
I hated Kobe because he beat my team every
100%,
time.
100%. Actually, because of the Patriots and I was never a Celtic. Like, I'm never a Boston fan, and then the Bruins always do what they do to the Leafs. And so, anyways, what I was gonna say is when it comes to Jordan, and we're talking about Game 7, what I actually think that LeBron has more than anyone else is the fact that he could play every single position and guard every single position. We just never have seen that ever in history. But what Jordan said is something that I always like, that kind of makes sense. When he was asked, like, are you the GOAT?
Yeah.
While
The way
was
he
playing.
answered
the way that he answered it, and he's like, you can't compare eras. Like,
yeah.
what do you want me to do? You're going to compare me to like Magic Johnson was coming to the end when we played in the finals. Larry was definitely coming to the end. But how do you what about Wilt? Yeah. What about Bill Russell?
And the game has evolved.
100%.
Right? I think this positionless basketball today versus what it was like in the 60s or the 70s.
Guaranteed.
Like you go Bill Russell, Wilt, and in their own rights, they're GOATs of the game.
11 championships?
Like so with that championship argument, is
then you
Bill
Bill
Russell the GOAT?
100%. You got to put him in there.
And a lot of people put Kareem up there, but I've never watched Kareem play. So it's hard for me to make an argument.
I just know
there.
highlights and documentaries and stuff like that. I've never seen Kareem play ever.
But I also think there's this nostalgia about MJ. There
for
is.
sure there is.
It's
For sure
driven.
there is. For sure there
It's
is.
also media driven narrative. Like he's the GOAT.
I mean, he put the NBA really, truly on the map.
And his shoes, the
Yeah.
brand. Like you wear, everyone wants a pair. Every kid. I don't own Jordans.
Yeah.
Never have.
Yeah.
I've never been a Jordan guy. I don't even own Air Force One.
Yeah.
I've just never been. I like my
You're not a
Adidas
sneaker
3
guy.
stripes.
Got it.
I'm different, you know?
Yeah.
Your vibe attracts your tribe. It is
100%.
what it's okay.
100%.
It's a Tom Ferry line. Yeah. Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah, it's true. Well, that's awesome, buddy.
I love this.
Let's see what happens. That was
This
good,
was
man.
fun, but I like the Lakers. I think this Celtics Lakers would be a great matchup.
I mean, that last one for me was probably my most favorite playoff series to watch, period, in all sports. And for me, I'm more of an NFL guy. Like that's my real sport to watch. But Kobe, Artest, Gasol versus your guys there.
Yeah.
Game 7.
Yep.
Lakers at home. That series was like
Big Perk got injured.
Game 7. He was in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last game he missed.
So that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
That's what I get why you're adding that. I don't think it would have made a difference.
No, I don't think Big Perkin is 2 fucking points.
Yeah, he would have been.
He wasn't that good anyways.
Yeah.
But he talks a lot of
It's
shit.
funny,
though.
Rondo I never liked ever, except when he came and won a championship in the
Yeah,
bubble.
Rondo
right?
I liked because
Yeah.
of Boston.
100%.
But now I like the Lakers. I
Yes.
think they're fantastic.
Yeah.
But I
They
do
got a
think
shot, man.
Phoenix is the only real threat to them in the West.
Yeah, and I really want the Lakers to win, period. But if there's a team that I would not mind watching win because of Chris Paul, would be the Suns. Because I
don't like Chris Paul.
Yeah, like I
not a
want the guy
fan.
to win. Like I
Yeah.
think he's gonna get into the top 25,
Easily. He's already
top-
considered a
top 10
player.
point guards, top
Yeah.
10 point guards of all time.
Some people call him top 5 point guard.
Do they?
He
Yeah,
doesn't
you know, I've
want a
heard
chip.
that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because there's obviously Isaiah,
Yeah, but I'm gonna put Magic there.
Magic's number 1.
Yeah, to me,
Isaiah,
yeah.
Curry.
100.
And does Curry go above Isaiah?
I
Tough to say, right?
Man,
I think Curry is above Isaiah, but
think so.
like
because
with 4
Isaiah didn't change
championships,
the game. He didn't change the game. Like Curry changed. So my boys play, and all of them.
But isn't AI better than CP? AI led his team to the finals.
I loved AI.
AI even won that first game.
I loved AI.
Tyronn Lue step over. Iconic. Iconic.
I actually need a photo of that somewhere.
All right. Guys, hashtag ball is life. So,
100%.
for those who
from
know,
a real estate
we can talk
podcast
about
to ball
yeah.
all day.
We spoke
Fucking I
about
know,
basketball
we've
for
never
fucking
spoken
20
about
minutes.
basketball
I love
unite,
basketball.
ever.
Yeah. Die hard ball.
Good job.
Die hard
Good
ball.
job.
fan. You're the first guest I've spoken about basketball to.
Easily.
But I enjoyed this. So where can they find you? Where can they follow you?
I'm not hard.
They'll all be.
Put your links there. Figure it
Well,
out.
they'll all
Google
pop
my
up
name.
there.
I'll
Yeah,
come
yeah.
up.
It'll be in the
It's all
details
right. I'll be
below.
easy.
Thank you, Jazz, for your time
I
and for
appreciate
sharing your greatness
Appreciate you. Thank
with
you.
us.
Thank you so
I
much.
absolutely loved every minute of it, and I feel like we've known each other for years.
100%.
It doesn't feel like we've met for the first time.
I am really excited to see your growth, bro.
Appreciate it.
Not in the business because you're doing your thing and like you're gonna do that. I think what the content allows you to do is now touch other people that you don't even know who's watching and listening. And I'm really excited to see that for you.
Thank you, man.
Congratulations.
Mad love.
100%.
Appreciate it. And we're going to collaborate some more on some other stuff. Who knows what?
100%.
Take care, guys. You know what to do. Like, follow, subscribe, and follow Jazz on all his details below. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one in a couple weeks.